Hello, everybody. Today's review is going to be of Horizon, uh, an American Saga, Chapter One. Oh my God. Um, so yeah, I gave this movie an 8 out of 10. I did go see it in theaters in 2024 when it came out, and unfortunately, um, the second part, I guess, wasn't released due to the fact that the first part came in under budget for what it made worldwide, which is rather unfortunate. Now, I know I've looked at IMDb and I've seen that this film has a pretty good following. And from what most people are saying, they're like, just release the second part, please. Like, as fans of the first film, we want to see it. Even if we don't get like a third or fourth chapter, I think we'd all be fine with that at this point. We just want to see the second part. Like, just release the second part in theaters, please. It would be nice to go and see it and kind of see at least part of the story completed, right? Because it seems like the second part is going to at least close out this chapter, and then who knows what the third and fourth might hold. But yeah, I guess the budget for the first two parts was 100 million, and unfortunately, the first part just didn't make enough money. Like, it didn't come in that low underneath the budget, but I understand. I think if they had have done the second part, they potentially could have made their money back. Now it has done well in streaming, I guess. Um, and it is leaving Netflix, unfortunately, on the 22nd of May. So when this video goes up, you'll only have 2 days to watch it. I'm sure it'll pop up. I'm sure it's on other streaming platforms as well, but it's currently on Netflix. So yeah, but I really hope they actually decide to just keep it, maybe, and or at least bring it back again, because yeah, it's done so well on streaming from what I've heard that the second part should just be coming out. But anyhow, yeah, I did really enjoy this movie. So, and the second part looks so good. And if it's completed, yeah, I don't understand why they're holding on to it for so long when I think anybody who was a fan of the first one, and now that plenty of more people have had the chance to watch it over the last 2 years, um, yeah, I just think it would be beneficial for them to release the second part and see how it does. Now, if the second part doesn't do well, then hey, don't release the third and the fourth. That, because maybe those parts aren't completed yet, and that's fine. But yeah, I feel like if the second film is complete, then what are they waiting for, sort of thing, right? I agree with a lot of the people who were saying that. But anyhow, we'll go over the cast list because it's quite a large cast. Now, I didn't write down everybody. I just kind of, again, like I do, write down the most standout characters and obviously the main ones as well. So Kevin Costner, who plays Hayes Ellison, Sienna Miller, who plays Frances Kittredge, Sam Worthington, who played Trent Geffhart, uh, Jenna Malone, who played Ellen Harvey. My bad. Oh my God, I had a hard time saying that name. Owen Crow-Shu, who played Pinsea, I want to say is how you pronounce that name. Danny Houston, who played Colonel Albert Houghton. Scott Hayes, who played Elias Janney. Abby Lee, who played Marigold. Michael Rooker, who played Sergeant Major Thomas Reardon. Georgia McPhail, who played Elizabeth Kittredge, so the daughter. uh, where was I here? Atane Kaleli, who played Russell Gaines, who was actually the kid who escapes from Horizon when it was built, I believe, the second time around. Luke Wilson, who played Matthew Van Weyden. Was that everybody? Yeah, I don't think I've missed anybody. Okay. Um, so John Beavers, who played Junior Sykes, I guess. Charles Halford, who played James Sykes, and then Jamie Campbell Bower, who played Caleb Sykes. So those were the two brothers, Caleb and Junior, who were after Ellen after she had shot their father, and they were hunting her down, basically. So there were like a whole bunch of like mini stories within this movie, obviously, like the new settlers that were with Luke Wilson's character, But we start out in San Pedro Valley in 1859. So it actually starts out with a father and his son who are like kind of just laying out like the foundations for this town that I guess they kind of had in their minds. Um, and then, of course, we have the Apaches who are native to that land who obviously see anything being built on that waterway as like a threat, right? Because from what I'm gathering, it seems that like the Apaches are having to fight other tribes, unfortunately, now due to the fact that they kind of have to avoid the people that are living on the water. So of course, it seems that every time Horizon is built up, it's just torn back down by the Apache because the Apache want their land, obviously, right? Or they want that land in order to avoid other conflicts. Which I mean, it makes sense, right? Because you don't want to be fighting all the time, like being in a constant war with other tribes. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have that happening. So I can see why like now I'm sure they probably could have come to terms with most of the people because it seems that the people that are living there are pretty peaceful. Like they just kind of want a small town or like a tight knit community. That's kind of what they seem like, and they seem like pretty reasonable people. So it's kind of funny. I feel like they probably could have made some deal with them, and I'm sure they, would have had no problem, letting the Apache pass through. But unfortunately, that's not the route they took, and yeah, it just seems kind of unfortunate that that's the way that went down. But I guess yeah, the Apache, some of them, not all of them, felt threatened, right? So a lot of them just went out and killed the people of Horizon and burned it down to the ground when it was rebuilt once again, which is unfortunate. So yeah, but of course the father and the son are found dead. Um, by like a lonesome traveler actually who's actually looking for the town, I guess himself, and of course doesn't ever find anything. And yeah, I'm not sure if he stayed there himself and also passed away or what exactly happened to him. They never really kind of touch on that, but there is, I believe there was three graves when he was there by himself. So yeah, I guess he might have eventually just kind of moved on. So then we go to the Montana territory where Ellen shoots her husband and flees with the child. Now, obviously, we're getting the kind of like a little bit of like, I guess, foreshadowing into like the fact that she probably wasn't treated very well and maybe possibly abused. I'm not really entirely sure. Now, of course, that doesn't necessarily um, give her the right to kill him, but yeah, that's the route she took. So a lot of this is like kind of like conflicts that like could have been avoided, I suppose, because she could have just left without shooting him, right? She didn't have to necessarily do that because I guess she just based on the Sykes family, they're not going to, take anything lightly. And of course, Caleb and Junior end up hunting her down, and it does take them a while to find her, that's for sure. But yeah, they find him nearly dead, and I mean, fortunately for them, they didn't have to bury their father. But yeah, also at the same time, you kind of get the sense that he definitely was not a good man to her. So I mean, he kind of got what he deserved, I guess, in a sense, but also I think she knew that she was putting herself in danger when she did that, so she could have possibly avoided that as well. And yeah, like I said, each time a community is built, those native to the land attack it. So yeah, like I said, each time Horizon is built up, the Apache come and attack it and seem to tear it back down. And like I said, one boy escapes and is able to actually get to the military base and call in the military. And of course, they come in, and the lieutenant there says to them, yeah, so it was Trent. Trent says to them, like, you do realize where you're living, sort of thing. And he says, you see those graves over there? And of course, all the people said yes. And he said that wasn't enough warning for you guys to, like, maybe move on. And one of the guys says, yeah, it was like a warning for us to build on this side of the river instead of on that side. We figured this would be, if this was untouched, then, we, there would be no threat towards us, I guess, is what they were kind of thinking. But, yeah, it's kind of funny that they would think that way just based on the fact that the graves were on the other side of the river, because it clearly doesn't matter. That whole waterway was a passage for the Apache people. So, yeah, anyway, that boy escapes, and then eventually, I think, um, so the military offers protection, obviously, to the people of Horizon, as, yeah, they know the Apache aren't going to be willing to share the land with them, or at least most of them aren't. Some of them are, like the elders and so on and so forth, seem to be, more than happy to kind of, work around, each other. But of course, the younger generation seems to think that, like they're a threat. They see them as a threat, sort of thing. And of course, obviously, as more people are moving in to this like horizon, it's kind of like almost like a promised land for everybody, right? Like everybody's trying to work their way there because it's like advertised as like this great place or whatever. And then when a lot of people get there, there's nothing there. So they're like, wow, we've kind of traveled all this way for nothing. But then the people that end up going there end up rebuilding the town anyway. So it's kind of symbolic in a way, right? Like each time it gets built, it's only going to be that much better because um, even the Apache can't stop anybody from trying to settle there, I guess, because it's a very nice chunk of land. So, I mean, I can understand why people would want to be there, right? Like fresh water, you're like right on a river. Like, yeah, there's a lot of resources there, obviously, for a town to run. Um, so, like I said, some of the Apache follow Pinsea after he is told to leave for attacking Horizon, and of course, I think one of the youngest sons goes with him, and of course, the old guy says, like he's happy all of the sons know who they are and who they want to be, so on, like so on and so forth. Like they're choosing their own path. He's not going to stop them from doing that. It is what it is, right? Um, So yeah, and then we get into Wyoming territory where we meet Hayes for the first time, and of course Marigold tries seducing him into going up to the house with her. Of course, Ellen and her husband Wyatt are, yeah, it was Wyatt, right? I believe. Um, I do believe it was Wyatt. Did I not write his name down? I might not have written his name down. If I didn't, forgive me. But I believe it was Wyatt. Anyway, her and her husband are going to make some sort of deal. Uh, little does he know, obviously, that he's making a deal with the two brothers that have been after Ellen for all this time, and they say that her real name is Lucy. So I'm not really sure. They don't tell you her name until she's calling herself Ellen. So they could be lying about that too. Who knows? It's hard to tell. But of course, Caleb is a bit of a talker, and Junior is a pretty quiet, reserved guy. But he just wants to like get her and get the baby and get back home, right? And Caleb seems like a little bit of an unhinged person. Like he kills her new husband just for talking, because of course he's trying to protect her in any way that he can. But I mean, these guys are like 5 times the size of him, so I don't think he was going to be able to do too much against 3 of them. But he certainly tries to like try and change the subject back into like, this is the reason you're here, for the rights to this land that I own, sort of thing. So he was trying to keep the peace, but obviously, based on the past that they had together, that wasn't going to be what happens. Now, I don't really think they don't really ever touch on whether they just killed Ellen right there or not, or whether they ended up bringing her back to the father. I'm assuming they killed her right there, probably after Caleb was killed by Hayes, but I guess we'll never know. So yeah, Hayes is just happens to be going up the hill at the same time Caleb is, and of course Caleb's like chatting him up the entire time and like threatening him, and then they end up getting into the shootout but Hayes is quite. He has way faster hands than Caleb, and ends up killing him. And of course, now uh, Junior is going to be hunting Hayes down as well. And you know, Marigold tries to like play it off like, she's just gonna go up to them and say, like, all I was there to do was take care of this child. Like, I really have nothing to do with what you're after me for. And of course, Hayes says, "You really think that's how that's going to go?" Um, so yeah, like I said, Caleb was killed, and then Marigold has to flee with Hayes, and he just leaves like the rest of his crew behind, which I thought was kind of funny. But maybe they eventually catch up with him too. I would think that they would want to, based on the fact that they know he's being hunted for sure. After what he's done, obviously. So then we go to western Kansas on the Santa Fe Trail, which is where the new settlers were. So that is where we meet. Uh, that's where we meet Matthew Van Weyden for the first time. Now he seems to be like the leader of this group, and of course he has like a whole bunch of different people with them, and who knows where they've all like met up, right? But they're all in buggies and so on and so forth. And I believe this was at like the same time that yeah. So this is when Hayes is being hunted down now uh, by Junior, and then the group that left the military to hunt the Apache has now grown, I guess, in size. It seemed to be only like a few men who, I think, like a couple of the guys from Horizon, and then a couple of the military men who decided to kind of like disband and just go after the Apache for killing the people at Horizon, have now kind of like recruited, I guess, a whole bunch of other people, right? Um, and then Lizzie, or Elizabeth, the daughter, gives all the men who are going off to war like a little flower from her blanket. And of course, two of the men who I guess she kind of felt closer to, I guess, she gave them to first. And of course, the sergeant then says, if all of the men have them, they might not say it, but it will be like a beacon of protection for them, and a lot of them will die with it on, right? It's kind of like almost like symbolic to like a poppy sort of thing that we wear for like Remembrance Day. That's kind of like what I got out of it anyway. So yeah, it was kind of like a gesture from her. She doesn't really talk that much, but I feel like she's kind of, quiet, of course, after obviously her father and her brother died, right? Protecting them from the Apache that were attacking Horizon near the beginning of the movie. And then, of course, Marigold finds a flyer for Horizon, and it seems that Junior's getting much closer to them now, so eventually he's going to catch up to them. Um, and then, yeah, and then I guess Mary leaves Hayes and the child behind to search for Horizon. And then, of course, we get Trent and uh, Trent and Francis, who seem like they're going to start a relationship. And yeah, there's just so much that I want to see in part two that would, just kind of tie all these stories together so nicely, I think. And it's unfortunate that we may never get to see it. Now, of course, it's been screened somewhere because people have reviewed it. So, yeah, just where, I don't know. But yeah, obviously not to the general public. But yeah, it would really be unfortunate if this film does never come out. At least part two. Like, yeah, I am in very high agreement with the fact that at least part two should be, should be released, and then after that, if they decide not to do part three and four, that's okay. Like, yeah. But at least, yeah, if part two is complete, like I said at the beginning, it should be released because this film was good. Now, it does have a long runtime, and there are slower parts to the film, but I mean, the overall story is all based around this town Horizon and everybody trying to get there and, make it a stronger community with more people. So, yeah, I feel like there's going to be a lot happening, obviously, as they get closer, right? Just clearly based on like the little preview we get at the end of the movie in the last like 10 minutes, just showing, the kind of chaos that is potentially going to take place the closer everybody gets together and the closer everybody gets to Horizon, right? So yeah, it would be amazing if they would just put out part two and then in theaters and just see how it does. Like I would be there to see it. And I think it would draw a bigger crowd now that it's been 2 years again, and it's been on streaming and it was number one on Netflix for a long time. So yeah, I think it would be beneficial to just release the second part at this point if it's a complete film. But I'm kind of rambling on, I guess, at the very end. So I will I will see you guys in the next review. 8 out of 10 for this movie. Bye bye for now.